Alright, time for the solutions for the domain and range worksheet that we have here. So what you need to do is list whether what the domain and the range are, and whether or not the relation represents a function. Well, all they have to do to list the domain is list out what your x values are. So those are my x's. List them from least to greatest, and don't put any repeats. So we just got 2 and 5. And the range is the y's, so we got 5, -3, and 7. Make sure you list them from least to greatest with no repeats. -3, 5, 7. And that's it. And the question whether or not it's a function, man, this is squiggle. There we go. Is determined by what the x's get mapped to. Well, here we got 2 to 5 and then 2 to -3. Our 2 gets mapped to two different things, so this one would not be a function. If it is a function, then each x value gets assigned exactly one y value, just like on number 2. So that one's going to be yes. The domain on number 2 is just going to be the list of the x values, least to greatest, so 6, 7, 8. And then our range is the list of possible y values. We have 2 and 5. So something to notice, if you have less domain than you have range, it's not going to be a function. If you have more domain than you have range, then it's quite possible that you'll have a function, but not guaranteed. Let's move on to the next one. What are my x values? I have 6, 8, and 9. So just list them out. 6, 8, 9. And then the range, well, we have 4, -4, and 10. List them from least to greatest. -4, 4, 10. Squiggle bracket. This one is a function because each x value gets mapped to exactly one y value. On the next one, my domain is looking like 9, and that's it. So 9 actually is getting assigned to different y values, and those y values are 7, 8, and 9. And so this one is not a function because this 9 gets mapped to 3 different y values. Moving on to the next part. I do want you guys to list whether or not it's discrete or continuous. This one is going to be discrete because it's isolated points. This one is also going to be discrete. These ones down here are continuous because all the points are connected. So it's continuous. And now let's move to the domain and range aspect of these. Domain is just the x values, so that's x value of -3, -2, 1, and 3. And so that's what we're going to have. -3, -2, 1, 3. There you go. So close your squiggle brackets. What are my different y values? That gives me the range. Well, there's -3. This is 1 and 2. 1, 2, squiggle bracket. And this one is a function because each x value gets mapped to exactly one y value. So if you do a vertical line test, that's what that also measures. Moving on to the next one, our domain includes -2 that has two different y values, so it's already not a function because -2 gets mapped to two different y values. That's an x value of 1 and an x value of 2 for our last one. And then when you write down our y values, we have -3, 2, and 3. So there's that. Moving on to the next one. My domain is actually just one number, which is 3. And my range, though, is going to be an interval. It is every possible number, so from -infinity to infinity. And this one is not going to be a function because my one x value gets mapped to infinitely many different y values, so my one input has a lot of outputs. On the next one, my domain, well, that's how far left and right it goes. Well, my function goes left forever and right forever, so our domain is looking like from -infinity to infinity, also known as all real numbers. Your range, on the other hand, my function is going down forever, but it doesn't go up forever. Going down to forever will mean -infinity, and it's going to go up until it reaches a height of 3 and stay there. So we're going to have 3. I'm going to have a square bracket on that, and this one is a function because each of my x values gives me one y value, or in other words, it passes the vertical line test. Those vertical lines only cross once everywhere. Moving on to the back, this one is going to be continuous, along with this one. They're both continuous, not continuous. Continuous. Alright, and my domain on this guy, that's the possible x values. Well, they start over here, and the open circle means it's not going to include that. So we're going to have an open bracket at -3, and my x's keep going to the right, that's what the arrow means, so it's going to go to infinity. And my range, well, the lowest value it goes to is 1, and it doesn't quite reach it because it's got an open circle, but it does go up forever from there, so from 1 to infinity. On this one, my domain is going to start over here and end over here. So that's my x values. That's x value of -3, open bracket, because it's open circle. And over here, we have an x value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one's square bracket, because it's filled in. My range is going to be what's the lowest y value. Well, that's 1, and it includes that value, so that's going to be a square bracket. And the highest y value is 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes all the way up to 5. And that one's open bracket because it's open circle. And that's our domain and range for that. Let's do this part here. So here's our function assignments. You need to get the y value, basically, the function value when x is -4. So go to the one that has -4. That's right here. That value is -1. That goes with it. On the next one here, you need to go where x is 4. That's over here. And the y value that goes with that is -9. Over here, g of 3 is going to be right here, and that's an y value of -8. And then g of -5 is here. That gets mapped to 2. So those are all your function assignments. Moving down to the bottom part, what you need to do for your domain is actually list all these names. So your domain can be names, that's okay. These names get mapped to these values here. At least those are those numbers are the range. So let me write that real quick. Make sure you do it from least to greatest. We got 5, 10, 12. Oh, I put 12 twice. You need to put it just once. Don't need do any repeats. And we got 30 and 42. And is this a functional relationship? This is going to be yes, because none of our names repeat, and so they don't get assigned different y values that go with it. So let me write down all these names real quick, but I'll pause the video for that. Alright, so I list those out. You could put them in like alphabetical order if you want, but it's really not a big deal. It's just those names there. And there's no repeats. On the next part, this top row is going to be your domain, and the bottom row is going to give you the range. Make sure you list them from least to greatest. So like here on my range, the shoe size, we're going to start at 8.5, and it builds up 9, 9.5, 10, 11.5, and 12. Squiggle bracket. And then the domains is going to be these listed out. Since they are in numerical value, make sure you do it from least to greatest. Let me do that real quick. There we go. So I listed those out. Something to notice is the 511 actually shows up twice, and that gets mapped to 2 different shoe sizes. And so what we have here is actually not a function, because each of our x values did not get mapped to exactly one y value. It got 2 different y values for the same x value. So there we go. There's our solutions.